Good morning, Sin City, and welcome to another episode of the Social Media Show. I am joined here today by my co-host, Asia Jade.
Hi, guys.
And we have a very special guest in the house, social media Las Vegas legend, Demont Daniel.
What's up? What's up, guys?
What's going on, Demont? Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Love it. Love it.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And for the people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're into social media.
Okay. Well, I'm from the East Coast, and that's where hip hop started at. I want to say that. The Bronx represent.
Absolutely.
But my dad was involved at IBM. His last title was the National Sales Manager at IBM. So I have had every computer from the first computer that came out for the consumer, which was the IBM PC Junior. It had 64K of memory,
Wow.
5.25-inch floppy disks, and no mouse, and just basically a keyboard. So I started learning at a young age how to program, because back then it was basic language and basic A and DOS, So I just got really curious into, how things worked, So I would take apart the computers. I'd get yelled at, I'd get punished for taking it apart. Hey, you got to put it back together. So that's kind of how my mindset really started. So the next thing from there was like I started playing games online, and at that time it was dial-up service, 1200 BPS, 2400 BPS. For those that don't understand that, that's, it's super slow. And then, then dial-up started to speed up a little bit, and people started getting on, America Online came out, AOL. And that's how I really started getting into socializing within online. And the funny part about it was Yahoo came out and all these other cool little tools, and then Google exploded, and MySpace, and then Facebook and Twitter and all that. So you see how the progression really started. So it really started at a young age, just wanting to know how things work and how people interact and have a different identity online than you do kind of face to face. So that's how it got started.
So you got on the ground floor with technology really before it became these things, Twitter, Facebook. So you probably have a better understanding on how they are working.
Right. And a lot of the startups, and each one of those were a startup. Facebook was a startup. Twitter, all of these companies, they just had like a cool idea. And I was actually watching something from MongoDB because I'm trying to learn different programming languages now. And Twitter just had a landing page, and it was super boring, but they had an interesting product. So one of the things that now when you're thinking of starting up a company, a technology firm, or getting into social media, starting your own platform, it's really create something really interesting first. Don't worry about the aesthetics, polish it later. But right now, create something that people want to use, that they find interesting, and you'll be really successful, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. Asia, you got anything to add to that?
Definitely. I mean, I was around that era when AOL first started up, and I remember how slow it was to play even Centipede on there. I mean, it was absolutely impossible to even get up to the speed that we were now. And anything of high quality was definitely a no-go on those computers. I remember I had the first Gateway, and that thing was terrible.
With the cow?
Yeah, with the cow on the startup
The cow
screen,
branding.
definitely.
With Duke Nukem and Oregon Trail.
Oh, man.
You going
Oregon
back.
Trail.
All
Don't
right.
get me started.
Demont, you have a company out here called Finesse Media. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what all you guys do with it?
Okay, so Finesse Media, we are the leaders in social media and events here in Las Vegas, and the actual term finesse, one of the co-founders, her name is Sarah Gabriella. I'm sure you guys know who she is.
She's been on the show.
Right. And we were coming up with company names because we wanted to start putting on like business networking events so that we could educate people and, the business side, but also the social side. And we're very sociable people, approachable, and so forth. So Sarah came up with the term, and finesse means something really smooth, savvy, chic. And that's really embodied our personalities. So the name of our first company, which we started up, was Finesse Enterprises. We went through a bunch of logo changes and so forth. And now one of a really talented designer, a graphics designer, and graphic artist Shane Allen, who we were all pretty good friends
Shouts
with.
to Japan, Shane. Carmelo Vision.
Sake shots all around. But we talked for a little bit and said, all right, I really want Finesse to have an identity beyond just like a text logo. And he came up with a couple ideas, and I looked at a yin yang sign. I was like, maybe we can split it up into 4 parts. So right now it's earth, wind, fire, and water. Those are the colors in a circle with the yin yang broken into 4 parts. And each one of those 4 parts explains what our business does, but on a more subtle level. Right. So red is you fire up an app, so we do application development. Blue for social media, that's water. Water flows around everything and is integrated into everything, into your total being, and that's basically what social media is now. Earth is events. It just happened to be that the E's correlated, so we kind of picked it like that. But it really is to bring people down to earth and do events in, face to face. We still need to do the face to face. And the last one is air, which is the white for us, and that's the education and training piece that Finesse does as well. So that's in a nutshell what we do, but we basically we help businesses increase their brand awareness and their influence across the web.
So pretty much cater to whatever a business may need. Maybe they need social media help. Maybe they need branding help. Maybe they need help throwing on an event. You guys can cater to those needs.
That's really awesome. I like that. It's very creative too.
And that's one of the things you have to be in this marketplace now. You have to be creative. Just like unemployment was super high. You had to become creative with a resume. It wasn't just a list of, this is what I did and so forth. It's more of, because now there's so many people that are doing the same thing that we're doing. Right. What's your unique value? What separates you from the competition?
Right. What makes you stand out?
Exactly. So that's what we try to do at Finesse.
So I know that you have Finesse, but are you involved with anything else around town?
Oh yeah, I am. I actually, it's funny how it started. When I moved to Las Vegas from the East Coast, and it was the end of 2007. I moved out here because my dad and my mom moved out here in 2003, and just less than a year before I moved out here, we started up a staffing firm. So we help people find jobs. Right. The name of it's Pride Staff, and
I've used you guys.
So so the good thing about that is we help the community. We help businesses. And I felt that really important because I got my first shot on Wall Street. I was a database manager at Citibank, but prior to that, Citibank hired me to just kind of crack their systems to see what keystrokes would make the system break or what people could hack in. Oh, wow. So I did really well, and then I just started learning languages, SQL and Microsoft Access. I was really good at those things, and learning Oracle databases and HP systems and so forth. So I grew up around computers, so it came naturally to me. And so when I moved out here, I didn't know anybody, I was like, okay, so I focused strictly on Pride Staff. Finesse wasn't even an idea yet, right. Nobody was pregnant with Finesse yet.
Yeah. It wasn't even an embryo yet.
They were just dating possibly,
Right.
But it was funny. So I was one of the first million people that were on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's right.
And LinkedIn I was using for business, and that was a social networking site. And I was using that heavily. I wasn't really talking on MySpace. I was getting boring. I was on Facebook, but it didn't have as many products as it does right now. So I stayed on LinkedIn, and then they started creating these things called groups inside of LinkedIn. And I said, well, LinkedIn is a pretty cool name. What can I do for Vegas? And I came up with a term called Linked Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So that's a group in Las Vegas. It's all business owners, executives. I mean, I was looking at the metrics the other day. There's about 6,500 people that are part of that group.
Oh, my goodness.
And I built it organically just from my personal network, just invited 200 of people that were in my emails and so forth, and really started to drive people to that group to create conversations about Las Vegas and how to connect them to the global marketplace. And now it just grows by itself. I just, I accept the invitations, but I let the community build it. And if you search Las Vegas in LinkedIn under groups, we are number one. We're the number one group on there.
I didn't know you were behind that one.
Yes.
Another thing Demont Daniel is behind.
What doesn't he do?
So what I did with that, I was like, all right, I need to meet business owners because I'm the business development manager for Pride staff. I have to drive business. And I was like, well, I can do sales calls. I can do cold calls, walk into businesses, give them my business card, or I can put on an event and linked Las Vegas in partnership with Pride staff, and I ended up so we put together an event, and I only had 50 people that registered, and that was like my first event, and they registered online and paid. It was like $10 online, $15 at the door. So I get there, I'm kind of nervous, and Dave Cavassier, who's a news anchor at Channel 8, he actually called me a couple weeks before that, said, hey, I hear about this linked Las Vegas event that you guys are doing over at the Orleans. I'd love to come by and interview you. I'm like shocked. I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm like, but there's only going to be 50 people here. I'm really nervous. And I get there super early, and I'm in a suit all dressed up. And then there was a line down the hallway. At the end of the day, there were over 500 people that came to my very first event.
Oh my God.
And I was like, all right, this is super easy, All they did was promote it on LinkedIn on a social network and got people to come out. And then Facebook started with their Facebook events. So then I was like, well, let me try this out. And that's really how Finesse really got started.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you were doing events before Facebook really started doing events. So that was probably an easy transition for you. You saw Facebook, you can create events. Yes.
Right. So to answer your question, what else really am I involved in to town? That's really how it got started. And then I started hanging out downtown. I started meeting the Vegas Tech crew a couple of years ago, and we would actually cover like the Tracky launch, which was one of the first startups that actually got funding and so forth. And so I've been integrated in the Vegas Tech community since basically its inception. And obviously I love tech, I love community, and I love building things. And one of the real reasons I really like building things, and it's a really touching story, and I know we only have a little time, but when I was working on Wall Street a couple months before 9/11 happened, I was recruited by Toys R Us. So they were looking for a client server database manager. I was working on Wall Street, and somebody just happened to, get my name. And so I went over to Toys R Us, which their headquarters was in New Jersey. And I used to take the train every day, down to the World Trade Center, walk down Wall Street, go get my Starbucks coffee or Dunkin' Donuts. We had Dunkin' Donuts over in New York. So I'd walk through there, and I had a bunch of friends that were on one of the levels where the planes went through.
Wow.
And I lost 100 friends quick, you know? And, and I was like, well, like in New York, that was like our pride and joy. It's like one of the world's tallest buildings, and we lost those, and it fell. And I was like, well, my job now is to build something, and that, that's why I build and do what I do. So
good for you.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
So where can people find you?
Where can they find me? They can find me by typing my name into Google, and I will.
And he will be number one.
I will be number one, guaranteed. A very unique name, but on Facebook, all of my handles are Demont Daniel, except for Twitter. It was Demont Daniel, and actually one of my really good friends, shout out to Tom Spano, he's the event manager at Twitter. And I reached out to him like, hey, listen, this guy's been squatting on the Demont handle. Right. He hasn't tweeted, has no friends. Reach out to somebody, dude. And like, I want this handle. It'd be cool just to have just a first name for your handle because, I jumped on kind of late on Twitter. And so got that changed. So my handle on every single platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it.
Across the board.
Yeah, across the board is Demont Daniel, but except for Twitter is Demont. And since now Foursquare integrates with your Twitter name, it's the same thing with Foursquare, so it's just Foursquare at Demont. Foursquare/Demont.
One question we always like to ask Demont is, I'm curious to know your answer to this especially, is what is your favorite part about social media? If you could pick one thing that you like most about it, what would it be?
That it's in my hand 24/7 like it is right now. And we're connected. And even though that we're connected through digital technology, we're still connected universally as well. We're all people. We all share the same concepts and ideas. Maybe some are different, but that's my favorite thing about social media, is that I can connect with my friends. I can let them know what I'm doing, and I can actually let them know my personality, what's going on in my head, and I can do it in 140 characters. I can do it through a picture on Instagram or Facebook, or I can do it in a networking forum, just letting people answering questions like in Quora and things like that. So that's really my favorite thing, is that I can do it right from my phone. I can do it in the comfort of my own home, and I can connect to basically anybody in the world.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it on that. Always with you.
Yep.
At all
Constant.
times.
Always on.
24/7.
Always on. My
Yeah.
brain doesn't shut off, neither does my phone, unless my battery dies.
Okay, awesome. Well, Demont, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate you
Yes.
coming out. Continue doing what you're doing for Vegas Tech, the social media community. You're doing awesome stuff. And can you leave us on what is #DES?
Do
Yes.
epic shit. Like, that's what you have to do. You have to DES whenever you do something. I don't care if you're brushing your teeth, do it epically. Like, just do something really cool, and people are going to notice. Like, no, that's what I want to leave you with, though.
Absolutely.
I will be hashtagging that all day.
Right on.
#DES. This was Demont Daniel. Thank you, Asia. Thank you, Demont. This is Social Media Show.
Thank you, guys.